Today we're going to continue our shared read of Turning 15 on the Road to Freedom, my story of the 1965 Selma Voting Rights March by Linda Blackman Lowry. Now remember, this shared read is a memoir. In your notes you wrote down that a memoir text provides factual information, is usually a narrative, is written about a significant or important time, place, person, or event in the author's life. In a memoir, the author explains why the event is important, and it's written in first person. Today I want us to focus on the setting for this memoir, Turning 15. Remember that the setting is both time and place. As we're working with setting, I want you to think about these questions. What important details does the author share about the setting? How important is the setting to the author's life and accomplishments? How did the author write about the setting to make it real or authentic? What I'd like you to do right now is pause the video, take out your writing notebook, open up to a blank page, put today's date, and then copy down the notes right here on this page. So you're going to write down setting is time and place, and then write down these bullet questions so you can look at them as we're listening to the story. So the important details, how important is the setting to the life and accomplishments? How did the author write about the setting to make it feel real? Once you have that written down, go ahead and press play to finish the video. Alright, let's go ahead and continue. We're going to read chapter 2. Now remember, as we're listening, we're going to think about those setting questions that you just wrote down in your notebook. Chapter 2. It was my grandmother who first took me to hear Dr. King. That's Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. That was back in 1963 when I was just 13 years old. The church was packed. When Dr. King began to speak, everyone got real quiet. The way he sounded just made you want to do what he was talking about. He was talking about voting, the right to vote, and what it would take for our parents to get it. He was talking about nonviolence and how you could persuade people to do things your way with steady, loving confrontation. I'll never forget these words, steady, loving confrontation, and the way he said them. We children didn't really understand what he was talking about, but we wanted to do what he was saying. Who is with me? Dr. King asked, and all of us stood up clapping. By the time we left that meeting, Dr. King had a commitment from me and everyone else in that church to do whatever it would take non-violently to get the right to vote. At that time, I was already in the movement, the civil rights movement. I was mostly following the high school kids around, especially Betty Fikes. She had this beautiful voice, and I wanted to sing like her. Betty and her friends were trying to integrate Selma by going to whites-only places. They sat at the whites-only Dairy Queen and the lunch counter at Woolworth's department store. They tried to sit downstairs at the movie theater. Blacks could only sit in the balcony then. They said I couldn't take part in these sit-ins because I was too young, but I had a job to do. My job was to go for help. I was called the gopher because I always had to go for someone's mama when Betty and her friends were put in jail. That all changed on January 2nd, 1965. That's when Dr. King came back to Selma for a big mass meeting at Brown Chapel. We called it Emancipation Day because it was all about freedom. There were about 700 people there, and I was one of them. It was an awesome thing, a fearsome thing to see so many people. They had come from all around, and they had to travel some dangerous roads to get to Selma. Little country roads where the Ku Klux Klan was riding around. The music was fantastic. By then we had formed a freedom choir, and I was part of it. I got to sing in the choir with Betty Fikes, and you know how I felt about that. When Dr. King walked in, everyone stood and cheered. He talked about the vote and how we would get it. He told us we must be ready to march. His voice grew louder as he continued. We must be ready to go to jail by the thousands. By the end he shouted, our cry is a simple one. Give us the ballot. To tell you the truth, I just felt that once our parents got the right to vote, everything would be a whole lot better. There's power in a vote. For years, black people tried to register for vote, but they were mostly turned away. Just for trying to register, they could lose their jobs. You see, whenever a black person tried to register, someone would take a picture and then show it to that person's boss. White people could fire black people whenever and however they wanted. That's why the civil rights leaders needed us children to march. After Dr. King's speech, our local leaders planned 2 or 3 marches for us every day. They would say, "We're going to march to the courthouse tomorrow. If you're with us, come here to Brown Chapel at 9:30. The very first time I heard that, I said, "I'm going to march." On the day of the march, we would go to school for attendance and slip out and make it down to Brown Chapel. Our teachers were the ones who unlocked the back door and let us out of school. They supported us. They had our backs. Our teachers were excellent, but these smart people could not vote. They couldn't pass the voter registration test. The tests were written to keep black people from voting. White people didn't usually take those tests at all. The registrars asked ridiculous questions such as, how deep is the Alabama River, and how many jelly beans are in this gallon jar? The questions had nothing to do with voting or the Constitution or citizenship. 2 or 3 times a day, a group of us students would leave Brown Chapel heading downtown. I don't think we were ever fewer than about 50 kids on a march. Before we left, the adults would tell us, "You're going to jail. Do not fight back. You might be pushed. You might be hit. Just turn the other cheek. Do not fight back. Don't worry about it. We'll take care of you." Most of the time, once we got downtown, the police let us march for 4 or 5 blocks. Then they would march us right onto yellow school buses. If you didn't get on the bus fast enough, the police would shock you with a cattle prod. That's a stick with an electrical charge, sort of like a taser is now. Farmers used them to push cattle to move quicker or get out of the way. That's what they used on us, like we were cattle. At first, they would take us to the old National Guard Armory, where we had to stand for hours all packed together, or sit on the concrete floor. But a week or so after that, they started taking us right to jail. What we'd like you to do now is open up a recap, and you're going to talk about Chapter 2 that you just heard, thinking of the setting. So you'll need your notes, and you're going to discuss those setting questions in your recap video. Go ahead there now.